Hey everyone, welcome to Teachers Love Edu live show. I'm so excited that you join us. Please do share in the Q&A box here on YouTube. And if you're watching us on Facebook, please do join on YouTube. There's a link that you can find in the description box. And please do share from which part of the world you are tuning from and what is your teaching role. Today, we are talking about amazing platform, Pear Deck, with amazing Brent Mischnick. And he's going to pop up just in a minute. The title of our session is Pear Deck the Halls of your classroom, which sounds super exciting to me. And please don't forget that you can add any questions to the Q&A box, and Brent will cover your questions because he is Pear Deck coach, certified coach. And on this positive and lovely note, as always, I am inviting Brent Mischnick. Welcome to Teachers Love Edu live show. I'm super excited you joined us. Thank you so much, Brent. And please give yourself a brief introduction. We can't wait to hear and learn more about you.
Well, thank you for having me, Anna. I'm really excited to be here for this opportunity to share Pear Deck. It's something that we've used in our district for quite a while, and our teachers are really excited. And I always like to share about it because it's sometimes a lot of people don't know about it. So just to tell you a little bit about me, this is my 14th year in education. I started teaching in Florida a while back, and then I've been in Texas now for almost 10 years. This is my 9th year in my district, Castleberry ISD, which if you're familiar with Texas at all, it's right near Fort Worth, which is in North Texas, just west of Dallas.
So you moved from the south, yeah?
Yeah, well, I've been kind of all over the place. I actually grew up near Chicago. I lived in Florida for a while. I lived in Vegas for 1 year, so I got to experience that. Yeah, I lived in New Orleans for a little bit. My parents were there. I just visited for a little bit.
Wow.
So I've kind of been all over and stuff, but I've settled in Texas with my wife. I have 4 daughters.
Oh my God.
I'm very passionate about education. I grew up with it. My parents were teachers. My sister is a teacher, actually, in my district. She taught with me at my school before I got into this role as the innovation leader. Yeah.
That's
so
amazing.
It runs in the family. Yes, it is definitely a family business for us. And growing up with my parents as teachers, my goal, like, it always kind of was my backup plan. I always wanted to play baseball for the Chicago Cubs. I played baseball since I was a kid, and that was always my dream. But obviously, you always have to have a backup, and my backup was teaching because I loved kids. I always wanted to help kids learn. Like I had great teachers when I was growing up, and so now that I'm out of the classroom, I'm teaching teachers, and I hope that my passion kind of rubs off on them in terms of how they can use technology to make their life easier, and most importantly, help their students learn and be engaged in the classroom. So,
wow. This sounds so inspiring already. We just have started this webinar and it's like, whew. Okay, I'm going to just want to announce that I'm sharing Wakelet resource collection right now in the Q&A box here on YouTube. So again, if you're watching us on Facebook, there is an event that I have created. Please jump in here to YouTube so you can find this, you can click and you can learn more about Brent. And he mentioned that he has got amazing family. You can give him a follow on Instagram, on Twitter, and also on Facebook. So all the links are in the resource collection, and just want you to remember that please don't forget to grab your favorite highlights, your wows, your hows from this session and post them on Twitter, Instagram, again, Facebook. Don't forget to tag Brent, myself, and use this hashtag teachersloveEDU so we can easily find and we can see what you've learned from this session. And I'm sure that you're going to that you will have lots of takeaways for sure. Brent, would you like me to send anything else, or we just will start this, demonstration?
Yeah, we can jump right in.
Yeah, just let me know. So the presentation is on the screen. It will be super interactive, guys. So please don't forget to prepare one of your devices or anything, because you can. Okay, Brent, it's yours. The floor is yours. The mic is yours. What can people do today?
So what this is I'm going to allow everyone to join a Pear Deck session as a student. So if you're an educator and you're always kind of like, oh, I always kind of wonder what it's going to be like for my students if I were to use this in the classroom. Well, this will give you that kind of window into what your students would see. And so that way, when you actually use as a teacher, you can use it more effectively. I really truly believe if you see it on the student side, it makes it easier as a teacher to make sure that you're using it properly and to help your students.
Can I react? Can I react?
Of course.
Yes, that's true.
And so what's great about Pear Deck is that when we started using it in our district, it was just secondary. Our middle school and our high school started using it. They really felt like it was going to be beneficial for their students. So they went ahead and jumped on board with it. Well, that was the year that we went remote because of COVID. And when we went remote, all of our teachers were now teaching remotely, kind of like we are right now. And Pear Deck can be used remotely very easily. And so Pear Deck actually reached out to us, since we already paid for it for some of our teachers, and said, hey, what do you think about having it for all of your teachers for the rest of the school year to see if it would be helpful, especially with everything going on? And we said, oh, of course, that would be great. And so all of our elementary teachers got a little taste of it, and they jumped on board and just ran with it. They started using it just like we are right now, using it with their students. And come the next school year, we decided to go ahead and just get it for our whole district, because all of our elementary teachers were like, please don't take it away from us.
Yeah.
Well, because the kids can join. I mean, you can do it in the classroom, but you can do it remotely like we are right now and virtually. And the kids could be on a phone. They could be on a computer. You know what I mean? They could be on a tablet. It works on all devices. You don't have to have an app. And so it's really easily used web-based. And so the fact that it's just very easy to use on all the devices makes it a great tool. I really truly believe that if it's easy to use, teachers will use it.
Yes.
And so you can see on the screen that this is how you could have students join. You could have them go to joinpd.com and they could type in this code. But what's nice about this is that there are multiple ways to have kids join.
Wow.
And Anna actually put the link in the chat and stuff. That link is right down here at the bottom of my little screen. It says give students a link. I can click on that and it's going to copy the link to my clipboard, and I can pop that in anywhere, whether it's a chat or whether it is in your classroom. You could throw it, like we use Canvas learning management system in our district. And so our teachers take that link and they can pop it right into their Canvas page, or they can share it out in an announcement or through the Canvas inbox and stuff to their students, however they feel is the best for their students to join. So there's lots of ways for kids to join. And for those littles, it's nice that you can sit there and pop a link in somewhere so they can just click on it, so they don't have to worry about typing stuff in.
Accessibility.
Yeah, exactly. It just makes it that much easier for students to join. But it gives you flexibility based on how familiar your kids are with the platform. I have some teachers that are like, oh, they go to joinpd.com and they type in the code and we're started in like 30 seconds because they're so good at it now. So, and that's a third grade teacher. And so that just gives you an idea of how easy it is to use once you get started with it.
Oh, Brent, there was a question from Millie. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
Will you keep this Pear Deck open for a while after the presentation?
Yes, that's what's nice about this is that I'm in instructor mode right now, which means I'm in control of the pace, but I can put it in student pace mode at the end. And that's what I will do is I will leave it in student pace mode for a little while after we're done. So that'll give people an opportunity to kind of click through it, and they can go back and forth, and they have control of going backward and forward on the slides. So yeah, so they can control it, and you can leave it open. So like I started this session yesterday, and I popped the link into our Wakelet collection yesterday, and then the session just stays open until I end it. What's great though is even if I end it, I can go back into my sessions and I can reopen it. So it's really flexible in terms of like, if I'm in the class, let's be honest, how often do you run into the time where you're teaching and you run out of time in class to be able to finish what you planned? All the time, right? It never goes as you planned. That's why I feel like lesson plans are kind of obsolete now, because my lesson plans never stuck to what I was planning, because you go in different directions. If my students need something different, I'm not going to continue doing
extra support.
Exactly.
Yeah, for example.
If they need extra support, I'm going to slow down for them, right? If I'm doing a Pear Deck session and we come across something that all the students seem to either to be really interested in or just need to slow down and spend more time on it, we're going to do that, right? And so being able to sit there and reopen that session, I can close it so students don't go into it, but I could reopen it the next day and we could get right back into it. And we could use that same session. I don't have to create a new session. I can. It's not difficult, but I don't have to. So Pear Deck's very flexible, which is very nice. So we'll go ahead and get started, because basically this session, so that way everybody can sit there and interact with it, is that we are going to be able to kind of learn about Pear Deck as we're conducting this. So they can learn about Pear Deck while being a student. They can interact with the different types of slides and stuff. So it'll give a little bit of the flexibility and the ability to be very customized in how you use it. So the next one is to jump right in and see kind of where we are. So this is one of the interactive slides, just a multiple choice slide. And it gives everybody the opportunity to answer a question. Well, I'm just answering more of a survey question, not really about a right and wrong. Pear Deck doesn't mark things right or wrong for students. It's not meant to be something to say, oh, you're wrong, or oh, you're right. It's meant to give the teacher feedback so that way they can adjust their instruction to help their students more. And so on my little screen on the side, I have another dashboard open as a teacher. I have it on my other screen in my laptop, but I could have it on a tablet or a phone. And what that does is that's actually, it's called the teacher dashboard. And it allows me to see the responses of all the people that are answering this question right now.
Wow.
So when students are answering this question, I could have it on my phone and be walking around the room. I don't have to be in front of my computer. And I could see the responses on my phone, and I have control over the session, so I can go to another slide on my phone. If I want to be at my computer, I can, but I can open it on another device. It's just another reason why it makes it easier for teachers in the classroom. Because let's be honest, I don't want to be stuck at the front. If Johnny's sitting in the back of the classroom and he needs just a little bit of assistance, I can walk by and help him, and I could still go to the next slide in the Pear Deck from the back of the room. So it really makes it a great learning platform in terms of flexibility. So this slide that I've shown everybody is kind of doing two purposes. It allows me as the trainer to, or the teacher per se, to kind of assess everybody's kind of experience level with Pear Deck. I'm asking, do you know anything? Do you not? And stuff like that. But at the same time, it's kind of given me a little bit of insight and giving people a chance to interact with the multiple choice slide. And so I can see my responses. I see that we've got a couple people that they use it and love it. I've got one person that they know nothing about it. And that gives me the opportunity to say, hey, so those people that use it, this is great. Maybe hopefully you'll learn something new. Because I know when I went through the Pear Deck certified coach training recently, and it was only like a month or so ago that we went through it, there were some new features that I'd kind of heard about, but I didn't really know. And I kind of got a glimpse into them and started using them. And I was like, oh, this makes it even better. So even I learned stuff when I went through that little training and stuff. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to kind of go through a couple of the different types of slides there are in interactives. So this one, you can see, is a draggable slide. This one allows the student to drag an icon, and you can choose the icon. It used to be that there was only one icon. You could choose a different type of icon, but you can only have one. Now you're allowed to have multiples. So you can see I can have students selecting and moving their draggable icons, and I can see it on my side where they're moving their icons to live. So I can see everybody's responses. I don't have to walk around and see everybody's screen. I can see it, whether it's on my laptop, my phone, or whatever. And I can kind of get a glimpse. Oh, looks like everybody's doing a great job. And we don't need to spend any more time on this because they obviously know what they're talking about. You know what I mean? They've learned this. This is maybe I was just having them check to see if they remembered what we had learned the previous day, stuff like that. So then I can go on to the next one. And this one is a drawing slide. But you'll notice if you're a student that you have drawing features, but you also have an A at the bottom that allows you to type. So you can type directly in the boxes, or you could have them draw on it. So the drawing slide kind of has two purposes. For those students that maybe they're on a Chromebook that's not touchscreen, it might be a little bit harder to do a drawing slide where they would have to write a word, so that they still can type the word though. But if they're on an iPad, it might be a little bit easier to use that touchscreen and to be able to draw on it and actually write a word with their finger.
Wow.
So you can see it's very flexible in terms of the different types.
Absolutely. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
And it's great because I can see everybody's responses. I can go on my screen and I can see how everybody's doing. Okay, so let's take a look at another one. So this is one of those ones where they have these templates built. So all these ones, I did not create these. These were created in our pre-made templates from Pear Deck. So they have some already created for you that are slides that you can use, or you can use Pear Deck with, if I already had a slideshow, maybe I've used it with my students before, but I really want to take it to the next level instead of me just talking about it. Let's be honest, students don't want to hear me talk, right? They want to be able to interact with it. So I can take a slideshow that I already have and I can add Pear Deck interactives to it and have them drag. And it could have been a slide that I already had. Maybe I used it the last couple of years, and now I added Pear Deck interactive to it, and now the kids can actually draw on it. And I'm getting more feedback than just having one random kid raise their hand and say, hey, I know the answer. I can get everybody to answer. All those kids that don't like to talk in class, they now have a voice.
Fantastic.
And then this one is one of my favorites, because let's be honest, when you have a student that likes to click around,
Yeah.
if they click on a link, it's going to take them out of what you're doing, right? And what's going to happen? You're not going to be able to get them back. It's going to take forever for you to get them back to the correct tab or to the correct app and stuff like that. Well, this website slide, on my screen, it just shows the slide itself. But on the student screen, it shows the slide on this one side, and on the other side, it's showing the website, the link that I put in. You could add any link to any website as long as it's a secure website. So it has the HTTPS. As long as it has that, it usually works. I'd say probably 95% of the time the website will work to show it in here. You can always test it. I tested a couple and had to find a couple that weren't working, so I kind of updated the link and stuff. But it's really nice because the students can look through this website and we can talk about it and they can see it on their screen and they don't have to leave the Pear Deck.
It really feels that you're a coach, because you just highlighted this really meaningful feature, because we can play around with different websites, but now we know how it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of nice to sit there and be able to keep the students focused on what you're doing. Have them scroll through that website in the slide. They're not leaving it. I don't have to okay, so Johnny clicked out of it. Now let me get Johnny back to the Pear Deck. I don't have to do that. He's still in the Pear Deck, even though he's looking at the website I want. So now I'm going to give everyone a little taste of student paced mode. So in the middle of my session, we're in class. We did a little introduction. I got a little feedback and kind of saw what we learned about yesterday. Maybe I was trying to see if everybody was ready to move on, right? Now I go into my session, and you can see on my screen, once I go over my slide, now I have all these options at the bottom. I have a new prompt. I have this little 3 dots though, and that opens up this menu. And you can see it says turn on student paced. So when I click on that, what that does is that now has given control to students. They can go to different slides. And I could be like, okay, so guys, the next couple of slides, I really want you to kind of go through at your own pace. Go ahead and interact with your slides.
Precious.
And your goal is to get to answer them at your own pace. I'm gonna set a timer and we're gonna go from there. And so it really allows you to be able to kind of get glimpses. I can sit there and show responses.
Yeah, I can see the pointers, so students can move, depends on their
Yep. So they're
preferences,
able to do this
their
on
own
their own. They're
pace.
like, if they're ready to move on, they circle their stuff and they click on the next slide.
I love it.
Right. And see, you might be done and ready. Maybe I'm still working on that slide as another student, but you can go to the next slide and work. I can finish on my slide. The teacher didn't have to rush me because now it's student paced. I can give people a chance to kind of go through and see some of the things.
I didn't know that Pear Deck is so amazing. Brent, there is a question from Melissa. Thank you, Melissa, for your great questions, by the way. Are you able to type and label the draggable things?
So on the draggable slide, you only get the draggable icon. If you want them to be able to draw, you would use the drawing slide. Yeah, those are two separate types of slides. It's a good question.
And there is another one from Chad. You can change to student view within the presentation. Can you change to student view within the presentation? Can you switch?
So basically what it is that I can sit there and do whatever I want and show responses. So I can actually see what students are responding and show them on my screen. I can hide their names, I can star them, and I can give them feedback and so forth. So I can actually go to the student view and go back and forth if I want to. So technically right now, this is the student view on this slide. But if I want to go to different things, I can. So I can go back and forth.
Yeah, student pace mode. That's okay.
Yeah, and you can see this one right here. This is a graphing one for all those math teachers that were like, oh, well, we can't use technology for math. It needs to be paper. Well, you can do things digitally. There's a lot of ways, and they can draw on this.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's the line feature. It doesn't have to be freehand. So they can, for those kids who are like, I can't draw a straight line. Well, it's got the line feature so they can draw a straight line. And it gives them the opportunity to do that. And then locate. They can locate the different continents, and those are draggable. And you can see there's multiple icons on there.
I love this map.
Yep. And see, now what I can do is I can say, you know what, we're going to stop on student paste. And now everybody is automatically forced to this slide. So I took back control. Yep. And so now all students are back to this slide. So maybe I gave them that time. And now I'm like, okay, are there any questions so far? In this case, I'm asking, are there questions about Pear Deck? But in class, I might be, okay, so are there any questions? Or let's go back over this slide and we could go back through those same slides they went through. And we could go back through them together and I could look at the responses and I could show some of the favorite responses that I've starred. So I could say, hey, look, I've got a couple people that really did a great job and they circled this and they did this and stuff like that. What do you guys think about this? So, and you can have those conversations.
Fantastic. So at the same presentation, you can provide like when students can move like directly from one slide to another, and maybe the rest, the second part of the presentation can be like they can move with their own pace. Yeah. Is it correct?
Yeah, that's what I would do as a teacher. I would have times where I would take control because I want to be able to go through, maybe that's the guided part of the lesson. And then that independent part where I want the students to go at their own pace and start working, that's where I would go ahead and turn to student pace, let them go through part of it, and then maybe set a timer and then come back and turn off student pace and then take everybody to a certain slide. And then we can go back and have conversations about those ones that they just interacted with. And if they didn't get done, that's fine. We're still going to have that conversation. But that way they didn't feel rushed, because let's be honest, as a teacher, that was one of my biggest things. Every student is different. They need different things.
Individual approach.
If Anna needs a little bit more time, I don't want to force her to stop her thinking process and move to another side just because 90% of the kids are done. So this way I can get responses from those other students that maybe they take 1 or 2 extra minutes. That's okay. If I gave them 10 minutes to do 3 slides, And if students are done early, they can move on to other parts and you can have something planned for them. But that way, everyone has plenty of time to finish and they just go at their own pace. So, and then I can switch back. So on this slide, I'm asking for questions. And so I'm going to go ahead and bring this over. This is my little dashboard. So this is what I see on mine. And it's probably, I don't think it's really showing because it's an additional window, that's why. But on my side, I've got one where it says, do you have your students create their own Pear Deck, or can they create their own Pear Deck to show learning? So technically, a Pear Deck is just interactive on top of Google Slides or PowerPoint. You can use PowerPoint too.
Yeah.
So on this case, technically they could, but as a student, they don't have the ability to create their own Pear Decks. But what you could do is you could ask them to create their own slideshow, and then they could say which type of slides they want to create. And then we could turn some of their slides into interactives for the class. So it could be that part where they're doing a little bit of creating and they're like, oh, I really want this to be a draggable slide. And so they create the thing, they put all the instructions and stuff on the slide. And when they turn that stuff in, you can help them turn that into interactives. That's a good question.
Wow. I'm in love with Pear Deck right now. So I didn't know that it's possible to make.
Yeah.
Actually.
So one thing that I love about Pear Deck is a lot of people are like, well, I don't really teach with slides very much. We're very hands-on in my classroom. And I'm kind of worried that I'm going to have to create all these slide decks just to start using Pear Deck. Well, you don't have to, because they have templates.
Yes, my favorite word.
I know. They have templates for all kinds of different subjects. And so what's nice is that even if their templates don't match exactly what you need, they have it built and you could just tweak it because you can edit their templates. You can get your own copy and you can edit it. So you don't have to be like, oh, I don't even know where to begin. What am I going to put in a Pear Deck slide? You know what I mean? I really want to turn this into a more interactive thing, but I just don't know how. Well, you can use their templates to get you started. That's one of the things I love about Pear Deck. And so this slide right here is one of those website slides. And so this content orchard is all of the content that Pear Deck offers. And they have everything from social studies to math. I mean, every subject's in there. Like there's nothing. And they're coming out with more and more all the time.
Wow. So
and then they have other ones that are generic in terms of they're not like that thumbs up one we did earlier. That one could be used for anything. That's a Pear Deck template slide. And I could put anything on that slide. It could be any subject because it's not subject specific. So the next thing is a little bit of teacher tools. And what I mean by that is the first thing is these are things, kind of things what we were talking about earlier about how you can have students join. So the most common one is sending kids to joinpd.com and having them type in the code. Or like I said, get that student link, right? Which is basically takes away a step of them typing it. But it also has other ways. If you use Google Classroom, there's an invite code. So you can invite your class in Google Classroom. It's already set up with that. There's also one for Microsoft Teams. This is actually fairly new within the last year.
Ooh,
so
nice.
If you use Microsoft Teams, you can sit there and invite your class in Microsoft Teams directly to a Pear Deck. There is a Canvas integration, and we use this one. I created this slide because it's not necessarily something that's in the Pear Deck website. It's something that as a Canvas admin for my district, we set up the integration for Pear Deck. I learned about it. I think it was not last year, but the end of the year before in the spring. And what this allows is that if you use Canvas in your classroom, you can set up an assignment and create a Pear Deck assignment in Canvas. And then the Pear Deck is actually in Canvas. So students don't even have to go to a link and open up a new tab. They go to the assignment and it's embedded in the course.
This is beautiful integration.
Mm-hmm. And the video that's on this slide that I've put on there is a YouTube video from our innovation team that I created to give a little glimpse of what that looks like and how to set that up, what a teacher would do if the integration was already set up. And if you have more questions, you guys can reach out to me. If you're like, oh, I really want that for my district, but they don't have it set up, feel free to reach out to me. I can show you, I can give you information about how to do that. It's not difficult.
I'm going to share resource collection once again with all the contacts and with feedback collection again. So just in a while. And Brent, I have a question. I actually, is it correct that when students are moving through the slides, there is an icon of immersive reader?
Yes, there is.
That's my favorite. This is my favorite tool of accessibility. It's inclusive, super inclusive, and I love it from Microsoft. It's my favorite. I'm so passionate about it.
I love immersive reader. It's definitely it's the best translator I've come across. I've actually had some like bilingual teacher friends in my district. I've actually asked them, I said, take a look at this translation. What do you think compared to like ones like Google Translate and other things? They're like, this is the best translation I've seen on any of these other websites. And I'm like, oh, yes. I was like, that's like score, because that's one of those things that you got to worry about, is the translation correct.
Absolutely.
And then the last one is the anonymous join. And that's what we did today. I gave everybody a link, but I didn't ask them to log in using Google. Most of the time in the classroom, that's what I'll do, because I want to know who the responses are. Because if Johnny's having trouble, I need to know it's Johnny and not that it's a friendly bear. You know what I mean? Or whatever animal popped up as the avatar. So today we did anonymous join. So I just have in my roster all the different avatars that were created when people joined. But you can actually have students join, signing in with Google and stuff like that. So they don't have to have an account. Our district uses Google as the single sign-on for some things, so they can sign in with Google. There's other ways too, but that's just one of those things. So my question is this is one of those drawing slides. I want everyone to circle the join experience they feel like they would use. Which one of these would you use if you were using this for your students? You're just going to use the basic one. Are you going to go Google Classroom because that's what you use? You're going to use Teams. Excited about using it in Canvas, because if you're in Canvas, you don't have to worry about rostering anything. Everything's going to be automatically in Canvas. And truthfully, I have some teachers that just do the anonymous if they're just doing some kind of survey-based stuff where they just want to get some feedback from students. And they don't want students to be like, oh, well, they're going to know who it is, so I don't want to sit there and say. So they do it where they just have avatars and they just ask for feedback, whether it's about a project they did or whether it's just about class. Like, what do you need more from me? Stuff like that.
Brent, I love this comment from Jadranka. Pear Deck is really easy to use and students love it. Yeah. Comparing to other tools these days, I think that Pear Deck is really student-friendly tool for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. And that's one of my reasons. I have teachers that before we went remote because of COVID, they really, not necessarily that they didn't want to use technology, but they didn't necessarily see the benefit as much as they do now. And Pear Deck was one of those reasons, because they used it during remote learning and they came back to the classroom and they just kept using it practically every day for little short periods, just doing little things here and there. And so they love using it. So.
And there's another comment from Melissa. There's also a way to throw up a quick exit ticket.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there is. So that's one of those things that you can add a prompt directly in, which is one of the reasons I love it so much, because let's be honest, as a teacher, things never go as planned. I'm like, it's not like other professions where you can plan out this nice presentation and you're just going to talk to people and stuff. That's not how teaching is. You have so many moving parts and students have a lot of needs and you need to make sure that you meet those needs, right? And so sometimes you just got to be like, oh, I really need to find out how kids are doing. And I want to do it right now. And I didn't have a slide prepared for that. That's okay. Pear Deck can do that for you. Yes. So I can sit there and go right now and click on new prompt. And it's going to allow me to choose one of their templates. And I can be like, you know what? I just want I want to see how everybody's feeling during class right now. So I can click on that and it just added it to your thing. You see how fast that was? Like literally I clicked two clicks. one to click a new prompt and the other to click on which one I wanted. And now it's automatically in. They drag the icon over their thing to see how everybody's doing. And this is just one of those little quick checks that teachers a lot of times are not sure really the best way to do a quick check in class without it disrupting the learning. I can think back when I started using technology in the classroom and stuff, a lot of my quick checks did not involve technology at the beginning. But then if I did a quick check, I didn't feel like I really truly understood what each student needed. I kind of got a glimpse of the whole class. I didn't know which students needed help and which didn't. And this kind of gives you a whole class version, but at the same time, it gives you individual too.
That's fantastic. I think this is a great tool for hybrid learning as well. As you mentioned, so the things do not go in the way we plan them, but
Yes.
Especially when you're online, especially when you're providing like, hybrid learning or distant, blended. So this is amazing tool. I was suggested Nearpod only before, but I think Pear Deck is, it's amazing.
Yeah, and we talked about that. And I think there are a lot of similarities about Nearpod. But I really truly believe Pear Deck has a little bit of their own thing, and so does Nearpod. You know what I mean? That they you could technically make an argument that you might want to use Nearpod in some situations and Pear Deck in other situations. And
absolutely.
You know what I mean? It really is that way. So this is just a little drawing slide I put on here to give everybody a glimpse. So these are the different question types, different interactives. So text, we did text when people were able to ask a question. That's a text one. The choice one, that was what we did the very first one to see everybody's experience level. We did not do a number one, but it's basically a text one, but they just type in a number. Website, we did that a couple times where it has the website on the side. And then you'll notice that the last two are premium features. Draggable and drawing slides are if you have premium only. If you do not want to pay for Pear Deck, you still have the ability to use the other four.
That's the difference between these accounts.
That's one of the main. There's a couple other features, but I feel like these two this one is the biggest one because to me the types of questions is what you use with students the most, and so that's the first thing you think about. And so if you don't have Pear Deck Premium, then you're going to miss out on the drawing and draggable, which to me are really, really interactive. I feel like I use those a lot more than I use other ones sometimes, just because students interact way better on draggable and drawing slides than they do on some of the others. Trying to get them to actually type out a sentence sometimes is really, really really hard sometimes. But
and even little ones.
Yeah, exactly. For the littles and stuff, we have some teachers in kinder and first grade using this, and they use those draggable and drawing slides with those kiddos, and they can do it all the time. So
there's a message from Melissa. So we're so lucky our district purchased the premium for us.
Yes,
you're lucky.
We're really glad we have it for our district. I can't see us ever not having it now because our teachers would revolt not having premium for Pear Deck. So.
Brent, would you like to mention that you shared with the link in the resource collection that I shared recently?
It is in the resource collection, and it actually is a part of this presentation too. That we will get to it here in a few slides. No, it's fine. That you will be able to get 90 days of free premium access just for attending today's session. So that will give you a little glimpse into it, and then you'll really, really, really want to beg your principal and stuff to get it for you. So this one I added in. These are some of the integrations that Pear Deck has with Google Drive and Gmail and PowerPoint and OneDrive, Canvas, Google Classroom, Slides, Teams, Office 365, Schoology. It works in all these platforms. And so I was like, I'll put this in there and say, okay, so circle which integration you're most excited about. Which one do you think is the best thing for Pear Deck, whether you use it or not? If you're like, I haven't used it yet, you're like, okay, well, if you use PowerPoint, you might be excited that, I don't have to learn Google Slides. I can use it with PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Because it used to be just Google Slides. Now it's with PowerPoint too. And so this is one of the things we just talked about is that whole immersive reader piece. So whether you present in Microsoft or Google. So a lot of people ask, Do I have to use PowerPoint to be able to use Immersive Reader? Because it's a Microsoft tool, right? But you don't. Even if you use Google Slides, you still will have access to Immersive Reader for Pear Deck. So our district is we have a really large population of English language learners. And so the Immersive Reader function is great to be able to give that power to those students. I feel like it really, really gives them kind of some confidence in class because they don't feel like they always have to ask for help for something like just getting a quick translation or just having it read to them. Some kids are embarrassed by that. And this gives them, you know what I mean? They don't want to have to ask for help all the time. This gives them a little bit more like empowerment to say, I can do this without asking for help.
Perfect. Dyslexic learners, for instance, there's a picture dictionary that sparks my heart.
Exactly.
So much.
Exactly. It's great. And then those pop-up activities, that's kind of like that new prompt I put in there. They also have ones where even if you don't have a slideshow, so say we were in the middle of class and I really, really, really wanted to get a little quick check, but I don't have any slides created. I can do a pop-up activity in Pear Deck. Whereas I can sit there and start one with one of their templates with just a couple clicks. I don't have to have anything created. And kids will join the same way. I can go ahead and do that. It's an instant, flexible way to get an effective teaching prompt, like a bell ringer or exit ticket. Because let's be honest, you might have done a hands-on science lab. Well, I have no use for Pear Deck in the middle of a science lab. The kids need to be interacting with the stuff in the lab. But maybe I want to find out how the lab went at the end. I can pop up a little exit ticket from Pear Deck.
Wow. You are delivering really amazing information,
Yeah, and this takes it even more. You'll love this, Anna. Adding audio. You can add audio to any slide in a Pear Deck presentation.
Wow.
Yeah. So you can sit there and click the add audio button and you could create slides and you could be reading the slide to the students. And so those kids can go through the student pace piece. So maybe you start in class and you let be open as student pace for them to finish overnight at home. Well, you have some students that really need that oral admin.
Yeah.
They don't always have that support at home sometimes. Parents might be working, stuff like that, just busy. Everybody's busy, right? And so this would give them the ability to listen to you reading the slide to them. And it doesn't take much at all. It literally a couple clicks and you can have it read and it automatically puts it on the slide.
Is it like integration with Mode or it's like built in?
It's kind of like, yeah, it's kind of like adding Mote. It's very similar, but it's built into Pear Deck. But it's a very similar, it's very similar to Mote, but you don't have to have an extension. It's just part of the Pear Deck platform.
Perfect then. Yeah. Perfect.
Yep. So you can see on here, this is just the idea of what it looks like. There's that add audio to slide button, and you can do that in any slide. So
beautiful. The accessibility level is really high in Pear Deck. I'm impressed.
Yeah. And the other thing is that there's actually multiple ways to have to be able to display answers. I mentioned it earlier about being able to sit there and kind of create those discussions and show like, hey, Johnny had a great response, and you can put that up there. Normally Johnny won't raise his hand and Johnny really typed in a great response, or maybe he answered the question really well. I could show his response on the screen. He's going to be smiling ear to ear, and everybody else could start a conversation about, hey, I didn't think about that. That's a really good thought. And there's multiple ways to show student responses. That's the thing I love about this, is that I can just look at a list. I could see Anna's, I could see Johnny's, I could see Susie's, and I could just scroll through the list. I could do a grid where I could show each person's screen as they answer. Or for those drawing slides, or maybe for those draggable slides, you could actually stack all the responses on top of each other and see all of them on one slide. So you can get a glimpse of how is the whole class doing. So when they drag over, are they ready to move on? And you notice that over half the class put thumbs down. That's a big sign that you're like, oh, time to go back and take a look at what we were doing because they're not ready to move on. And I can see that on one slide with the overlay. So this is an example of the list view where I can sit there and see the list and I could scroll through that list on my screen. So I can view and I can share 1 or 2 answers at a time if I want to share them out on my screen. Then here's the grid where I can see all the screens at once. So for those teachers who are like, oh, always have people that are not on task and stuff like that. Well, this gives you the opportunity to see everybody at once. So if you notice that someone's not responding and their screen is blank still, they don't know that you can see this. You could have it on your phone like you do right now, Anna, right? You could be walking around the room.
Yeah.
You could see Johnny doesn't have anything down. You walk past Johnny and you know what I mean? You already know that he hasn't written anything on there. So he's going to obviously go on there when you're walking by. And then this is that overlay piece where I did that quick check and I'm like, oh, well, I have 3 people that are confused and 1 that has a question and only 2 people are ready to go. We're not ready to move on.
I've never seen anywhere anything like this. Like, I mean, with this dots.
Exactly. And see, that's the thing is that a lot of people say about the whole Nearpod and Pear Deck thing. But like I said, Nearpod has their pieces that they have that Pear Deck does not. Pear Deck also has their pieces, that are unique. And this is one of those things. The quick check to be able to pop this up and have kids. I mean, this doesn't take them but 5 seconds to answer. I didn't have to sit there and wait for them to type something in. I don't have to sit there and try to look around the room and see if everybody's giving me a thumbs up. And let's be honest, if I'm giving them a thumbs up, I might give a thumbs up just because I don't want to see my friends say that I have a thumbs down. But if I do it like this, everyone is going to respond because no one knows what anybody else said. And so I'm really going to truly get good feedback from my students.
Fantastic.
So here is a big thing. And this is one thing that I myself have really, really tried to help my teachers with. And I actually have done a lot with my middle school and high school teachers, especially my middle school ELA teachers this year, reading and language arts teachers. They really, really struggle with giving feedback that's actionable without spending hours because they're a middle school teacher. They have 100 plus kids that they see every day. And let's be honest, giving feedback is not easy, but that's what our students need. If I give them an A, that doesn't mean anything. If I say, this is a great job, just don't forget about this, I could have given them that A because they did a good job, but that A doesn't communicate that comment that I had for them. And so the feedback that you can do in Pear Deck allows a lot of interaction between students and teachers, which to me is the next level of education is that to get away from the whole, like, let's give out A's, B's, and C's. Let's give them feedback and have them learn from it and actually create the process of students realizing that it's not just, I get the assignment done and I'm done. Because that's usually what I used to have students that are like that. All I want to do is I just need to get it done. Oh, but I got my work done, Mr. Mischnick. I'm like, yeah, you got it done, but we need to go back and take a look at it because you rushed through this. We need to go back and take a look. You didn't really follow directions.
Yeah.
And I can get that feedback is what they need because getting it done is not the ultimate goal. Learning it is. So
perfect.
So when you're adding feedback, what's nice is that when you have that feedback, you have that screen where you want to look at people's responses. You have a nice little bubble right here. You have the star, which means I'm going to show certain responses and hide others. But this little feedback bubble, that's going to allow me to be able to comment back to a student. And I can do it live in class, or I can do it later on, as long as the session is open. Shared teacher dashboard is also another great feature. So think about those times that you co-teach with teachers and you want to be able to give them a part of the, you want to share the ability to interact with those kids. It shouldn't be all on me or all on you. It should be, we're co-teaching, we need to co-teach. This shared teacher dashboard gives you can add a co-teacher to a presentation and they can actually interact and give feedback as well. So now I'm focused on doing the general instruction and going through things, and that other teacher is popping in feedback as we're going through. And we're kind of double teaming it. I mean, not very many platforms allow for that, to be able to sit there and have another teacher in there at the same time as you giving feedback and helping. So this is how the shared teacher dashboard kind of works. So if you invite a teacher to it, they have access. They can review the responses. They can actually switch the mode as well. So it's like having two people in control. They can switch to student pace and instructor pace too. So they're not limited in that. They can add slide timers and locks as well. Okay. They can highlight or hide answers as well, just with that star, and they can also provide feedback and comments. So they have all those features that teachers have that shared teacher is going to have as well. So they're not just like following along like a student. They're actually able to interact with the kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's unique too as well to me.
So this is some of the newer stuff that's come out over the last year. This is a Pear Deck premium feature. It's called Reflect and Review. It's that feedback piece we were talking about. That when you're done with a presentation, it helps you kind of create those learning moments. So when you're done with the class, you can sit there and provide them their responses. So they can actually see it. Because let's be honest, if a student's doing all these responses, the very next day they're going to forget what they put.
Yeah.
I mean, shoot, they're going to forget it in a half hour later. Let's be honest, right? But if I can provide them all their responses and allow them to reflect and review on it, maybe you're doing a review for a test and you want to provide them the slide deck with their responses so they can remember, oh yeah, we were talking about that. Mr. Mischnick was saying this while we were going over the slide. So now it's not just some random slides. It's slides that have their responses on them while we were reviewing in class. And then they have access to it to be able to look through and see it. So this is how it works. When I'm in the dashboard, I go to the navigation bar and I select end. So at the very bottom of my screen, in the bottom right corner, I would end the session. When I end the session, it's going to allow me to be able to select reflect and review. So it automatically pops up. I don't have to do it. If I'm just doing a little formative feedback and stuff like that, it's not something that they need our responses on. Maybe we just did an exit ticket. They might not need that. But it pops up automatically and gives me that option. When I have that, I can select it and enter the review and review the student responses. And I can also share the link with the students. So I can select a copy and you can share it with them, and it goes in the Google Drive because it's all connected. So there's no like, oh, I lost that link, Mr. Mischnick. No, it's in your Google Drive.
Doesn't
Go
work.
into Google Drive and find it. It's in there. So
Brent, there is a comment from Melissa, and the feedback can be immediate, or you can send it to them later.
Exactly, which is nice because let's be honest, if I'm in the middle of, if I'm not going to be able to do a lot of it immediately. Sometimes I might just have to sit down the next day and go over it. You know what I mean? Or even just have to end the school day and I go back through and give it to them and give them that feedback and stuff. So it's nice that you have the flexibility. Yeah, it's very true, Melissa. And another part is the student takeaways. So you can give students an easy way to go back and review the lesson later. What it does is it creates a Google Doc, and you can actually leave comments on my Google Doc, just like you could on any Google document. So it gives them their own Google Doc of their responses, and this is their takeaway, and then you can add comments on there. So it's just another part of that feedback piece. And notice in this is showing an example of the teacher giving a comment and the student commenting back in the Google Doc, because it's an interactive document. That Google Doc is in the student's Google Drive and the teacher has access to it. So you could actually have a conversation back and forth with feedback, which, let's be honest, that's the ultimate goal. It doesn't happen a lot. But if you can get to the point where you have that going on in your classroom, then you're being very successful with that feedback piece. So some of the other resources, those pre-made lessons I was telling you about, they actually have some
Newsella.
the Newsella daily decks. They have those in there. That's kind of nice. It's a nice little feature.
Absolutely.
They also have Be Internet Awesome, which is that Google digital citizenship piece. They have that in there as well.
I love the picture.
Yeah. And so this is why I'm going to leave this open with student paste when we're done, because I want people to be able to come back and get these links. So this is one of those other ones that they have a bunch of their help videos and stuff that's embedded right here. If you're more of one that likes to read instead of watch, the next one would be yours. You can download their ebook that allows you to kind of read up on some of the stuff and get step-by-steps and screenshots and stuff instead of videos. So that's why one of the reasons why I'll put this into student paste at the end, so people can come back to see these resources. And what's nice is that students can click on that link on the bottom of the thing and it'll open up in a new tab. So for those people that are like, oh, well, I really want to take that link with me, you can click on that link and it will open a new tab. It stays embedded in the Pear Deck, but if you need to click on it, you can click on it and it opens just like a link.
Brilliant.
So here's the yay for premium.
Let's
Everybody
do this.
that's in here, it's in here, this bit.ly link that's already in here, you can go ahead and use this to sign up for your premium anytime you want. All you have to do is go to that link. It's embedded right in there, and you can go ahead and sign in actually on the screen. If you want to click on it later, you can click on the bit.ly and open up a new tab and do it later. But that will give you 90 days of premium provided by Pear Deck. So you can kind of check out everything, get completely hooked, and then beg your principal to buy premium for you. Definitely, because you're not going to want to go back.
Well, thank you so much for sharing with this premium, because this is because you're like Pear Deck certified coach, right? So you've got this.
Yes, as a Pear Deck certified coach, when I tell them I'm doing a training, they provide this link to the certified coach, so that way we can provide it for the people that joined, because they really do want Pear Deck to be available for as many teachers as possible. I mean, that's one of their goals, is to make learning better for students and teachers. And so the only way, I mean, it's great to talk about the premium features, but if you can't let people have a taste of them, then what is really going to, I mean, are they really going to jump on board? Like, I'm going to pay for it and not be able to play with it. So this gives you a chance to kind of, and it's 90 days, 3 months. That's going to get you through most of the second semester.
Thank you so much. I agree with the comments from Melissa. So, well, you did such a thorough job. Thank you. This is so true. And also, there is a question. Can I ask you the question from chat?
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name in the correct way. So sorry. When you close the session, do participants receive a copy to review or see later, or do you have to open it again?
What it is that's that whole reflect and review and the takeaways piece. What I will do, we did not do it where we had everybody sign in. So it's not possible for me to do takeaways and reflect and review for us, but that's why I'll leave it open in student pace for a while so people can interact with this for a little while. If you have any questions, like I'm going to close it probably the end of this week.
Thank
but
you. Okay.
If you're like, oh man, he closed it and I really want to go back in there, just reach out to me. Let me know. I can get any of these resources to you. I have Pear Deck resources. I have a Wakelet collection on Pear Deck as well that I've been putting together over the last couple of years, and has grown more and more with different resources. I've got the Pear Deck resource I have in Wakelet, which I can grab, has a ton of templates in there of things that are already made, so that way you don't have to start from scratch. So this is a little post-training challenge as well. If you're a new user, this kind of gives you some kind of steps to kind of start on your own. The first thing you'll want to do is install that add-on for Google Slides. We actually push it out to all our teachers, so it's automatically in Google Slides automatically, so they don't have to add it or install it. But that if you do want to use Pear Deck for Google Slides, that's the first piece. They said the first thing they recommend is just try one of those pop-up activities. Try one of those little templates and stuff and just test it out with your students. Don't jump in head first and do a big, long presentation the first time. Try a pop-up activity, or maybe have one ready with just 1 or 2 slides, and just have your students try it out and see how they like it and get started that way, and then go from there.
And I have
that way you can sit
Brent,
there
I have a suggestion. I'm sorry for
yeah,
interrupting again.
no,
If you just create something on Pear Deck, please give a shout out to Brent and just tag him or at Teachers Love Edu. So share with your creations on Pear Deck. Share out, use the premium account, try out the feedback feature. What else? Drawing feature, dragging feature right there for premium account for 90 days. It's an incredible gift. We're super grateful to you, Brent. And just don't forget to share with your creations on socials. It would be fantastic
yes,
to see what you have created on Per Deck, because we need ideas. Teachers need ideas, and that can spark their lessons and etc. That will be perfect.
And if you want to follow me and stuff, like I said, feel free to reach out to me anytime. You can contact me on Twitter. If you scan that QR code, you can go ahead and connect with me. You can send me an email and stuff like that. I'm more than welcome to help anybody and stuff. I'm always been one, like, once I got into this job, like, my whole ultimate goal is to work smarter, not harder, and help my teachers or anybody else that wants to as well. Because to me,
Where's my heart?
technology doesn't need to be, we don't need to be afraid of it. We need to embrace it and use it the way that will be helpful for us. So
inspiring. All of these resources, please go through the chat. There are three links that I've shared: feedback collection, resource collection, and the beautiful presentation on Pear Deck that Brent has created for today's. And it's fantastic. I love Per Deck. I love the way you deliver this information about Per Deck. A lot of great and useful tips. You never know unless you met a certified coach like you are. That's incredible. Lots of beautiful comments to you, Brent, for you. Very good session, an amazing session from Jadranka, from Abidi. Thank you. Thanks everyone who joined us. Yes, I agree. Absolutely. We can feel that you're super professional. You love Per Deck and you share with your passion. That's what Teachers Love Edu is all about passionate educators and ed tech consultants, coaches. So these days, teachers, they are mingling activities like 2 years in a row. Yeah, we are trying to support each other, and it's an incredible gift that we can provide, in teacher space.
yep. And I've turned it over to self-paced mode. So it is now in student pace mode. Anybody can jump in and go back and forth in it, and feel free to snag those links, take a look at the resources and stuff on your own pace and stuff. And I'll leave that open for a while.
Yeah. So don't forget to share with your highlights what you enjoyed the most from this session. Tag us so we can see your beautiful feedbacks again. And so, Brent, would you like to add anything else?
No, I don't think so. I'm just really, really, really glad I was able to jump on with you. Thank you for reaching out to me, Anna. I really enjoyed this. This was great.
So I loved every minute. And anyway, if you have any questions, don't forget to drop them in the Q&A box if you watch us as a recorded version. Thanks for watching it again. Don't forget to grab your highlights, to share it on socials, share with your creations on Per Deck, tag us, and all the information is in the Q&A box. Is going to be live chat forever. So if you're watching even as a recorded version, you can see the live chat. You can scroll down anytime, and you can drop these questions to Brent. You can reach him out on socials. He kindly suggested this. So take your opportunity. Don't forget to stay safe. Stay tuned for more upcoming webinars very soon, next week, hopefully on Wednesday. And thanks to everyone who joined us. I really appreciate it. And your interactive your questions, everything that you asked. And thanks for joining us. Thank you so much, Brent. You're incredible. Once again, I just love doing this.
Oh, thank you so much.
You are incredible. And so bye, everyone. Stay safe.